Police warn an alleged hate-motivated arson attack shows a dangerous escalation.
This is this tipping point. It is violent, it is targeted, it is organized.
What we've learned from police tonight about a Jewish-owned North York deli hit by fire and graffiti.
I don't think that's fair at all.
No, they shouldn't. It's too much, to be honest.
Plus, cell phone price hike. Some customers will have to pay almost $10 more a month. When it'll kick in, and how the companies are justifying the increase.
Reduced housing starts. It's a recipe for disaster.
And historic dip in housing sales, why experts say 2024 could put condo owners in Toronto in unique risk. Good evening, I'm Chris Glover. A deli in North York is now the scene of a hate crime investigation after the Jewish-owned business was lit on fire and hit with graffiti. Late tonight, Olivia Chow released a statement, and part of the mayor's message says that incidents like this leave people feeling shaken. All residents of Toronto deserve to be safe and feel safe. Acts of anti-Semitism, hate, and violence are not welcome here. This latest investigation follows a staggering increase in reported hate crimes in Toronto following the start of the Israel-Hamas war. And tonight, Toronto police are warning this latest incident is a tipping point. For more on our top story, let's get right to Greg Ross at the scene. Greg.
Chris, we now know that this investigation has been taken over by the Toronto Police Hate Crimes Unit, and that is largely due to that graffiti you see on the back doors of this deli here behind me. It says, "Free Palestine." We know that the owner of this deli is Jewish, although this is not necessarily a Jewish deli. But police tell us they are investigating whether or not this arson here this morning has ties to the tensions in the Middle East. And tonight, they told us they are taking this investigation very seriously.
I've been a criminal investigator the vast majority of my career. And in most of those criminal investigations, there was a tipping point. This is this tipping point. This is not graffiti on a bus shelter. This is not lawful protest protected by constitutional right. This is a criminal act. It is violent, it is targeted, it is organized, and it will receive the weight of the Toronto Police Service to exactly what it deserves.
That sentiment you heard there from Staff Superintendent Pauline Gray is also being felt by many here in this community. And with this rising to the level of an act of violence, many are also feeling on edge.
Fire crews were called to International Deli Foods on Steeles Avenue West just after 6 o'clock this morning. They were able to quickly douse flames inside the store, but not before it sustained serious damage.
Luckily, the sprinkler system went off, but that causes irreparable damage with the water damage now, plus other damage as a result of the fire that there was.
Eglinton Lawrence City Councillor Mike Cole says it quickly became apparent to investigators that this fire was no accident.
There's damage to the back door, there's graffiti on the back door.
Spray painted on the back doors of the deli are the words "Free Palestine." The owner of the deli did not want to speak to us on camera, but did confirm he is Jewish. Cole believes he was possibly targeted because of his logo on the front of the building, which says IDF.
It's International Deli Foods. The criminals who did this, maybe associate that with the Israel Defense Forces, perhaps. I don't know what the crazy thought process were.
This woman works nearby and sometimes gets lunch at the deli.
It's mostly Russian food, Russian-Ukrainian food.
She's also Jewish and was surprised to hear that the deli was targeted. She says acts of violence like this are getting out of control.
Since October 7th, I'm shaking every day reading the news. I want to move from Canada now, to be honest, because I don't feel safe.
That woman also telling us that the landlord of this plaza is now considering 24-hour security here. Investigators with the Hate Crimes Unit are now going through security footage from multiple angles here at the plaza in hopes of identifying suspects. Chris?
Greg Ross at the scene for us tonight. Turning to an active police investigation in Mississauga tonight, where a shooting has left one person in critical condition. It happened in the area of Battleford Road and Glen Aaron Drive at around 5. Police say a man was rushed to hospital with life-threatening injuries. There's no word on any suspect information at this time. And staying in Mississauga, where 2 people were rushed to hospital following a house fire this morning. Crews were called just after 9 a.m. to a house on Bishop Strawn Court near Trelawney Circle and 10th Line. One person had second-degree burns and another person suffered smoke inhalation. Mississauga Fire says the rest of the family will not be able to stay in the home due to all the damage, and the cause of the fire is, of course, still under investigation. And Toronto police have laid charges against the driver of a garbage truck that struck and killed a woman in Midtown last month. It happened near St. Clair West and Winona Drive on December 7th. Police say the garbage truck was making a right-hand turn when it struck the woman in the crosswalk. A 40-year-old man has been charged with careless driving, causing death, and failed to yield to a pedestrian. Next to the results of a new survey of healthcare workers. It found many are experiencing poor mental health at work. Clara Pasica has all the details.
You're working twice as hard, like you're constantly overworked.
This Toronto registered nurse says healthcare workers have never had to do more on a shift.
Nurses, you're constantly on your feet, missing breaks, missing washroom times, people holding their urine in your bladder for long hours just because they have so much to do.
Before I get into the results,
hundreds of healthcare workers are feeling the same.
Many workers are breaking down and crying, knowing their patients are being shortchanged. They cry before their shifts, they cry after their shifts, they cry during their lunch breaks, they even cry at home as workplace stress bleeds into their lives.
Results of a Nanos telephone survey of more than 750 hospital workers across the province show 41% of workers dread coming to work. 49% of respondents say they have anxiety at work. 62% say they are exhausted. 2 in 5 are leaving or somewhat considering leaving their jobs in the next year. The union and the NDP are calling on the government to address these issues by better funding the healthcare system, paying workers more, and hiring more of them full-time.
So you are what your record says you are. This is unacceptable.
The psychiatrist says hiring more workers is key, but so are programs to address high levels of mental health concerns in these workplaces.
Very scalable, not particularly costly, and certainly not very difficult to implement. And I think now more than ever, given what we're now hearing with this survey, which is not the only survey like this, many have been like this, there's an urgency that we cannot afford to have this not going on much longer without being addressed.
A spokesperson for the Ontario government said 15,000 new nurses were added last year, and the government is making it easier for nurses trained elsewhere to work here. Clara Pasica, CBC News, Toronto.
Another thing that has a lot of us feeling stressed out is the high cost of living. And now we're learning many phone bills are set to go up in as little as 2 weeks. Rogers is increasing the cost of some plans, and reportedly so is Bell. Anam Khan picks up that story.
It's no secret that Canada has some of the most expensive phone plans in the world. And now they're about to get even more costly.
I don't think that's fair at all.
So you already pay $100. Do you think it's fair?
No, they shouldn't. It's too much, to be honest.
Rogers confirmed to CBC News today that it's increasing the cost of some of its phone and internet plans, even for its subsidiary Fido. And a Canadian tech news outlet reports Bell is also increasing some of its existing wireless phone plans next month.
According to Rogers, the price hikes could be as high as $9 for customers who are not on a contract. And these price hikes could be seen in as early as 2 weeks.
In a statement, Rogers says it's committed to delivering mobile and residential services with the highest standard of quality and reliability to bring our customers the best network experience. Bell did not respond to a request for comment. The price hikes may sound jarring, but this marketing professor says there's a bigger context.
What we do know is that overall, the cost of cell phone service in Canada has flattened, if not declined a little bit over the last year and a half, which is actually a good trend. Now, it's still very expensive compared to other countries.
In 2023, Canada ranked 216th, according to a report from a UK organization that tracks the prices of telecom companies. Israel ranks number 1 at 2 cents US per gigabyte of data, France at 20 cents, the UK at 62 cents, and Canada paying $5.37. Last year, Rogers CEO pledged that prices would go down for customers after the company officially merged with Shaw Communications. U of T marketing prof David Soberman says legislation put in place years ago restricting foreign companies reduces competition in Canada.
They'll do whatever they can get away with.
Right.
So maybe there should be some legislation about it.
Rogers says customers getting the new pricing will start seeing the increases on bills after January 17th. Adam Khan, CBC News, Toronto.
All right, hopping outside now for a live look of Toronto, and it is 1 degree and cloudy tonight, but set to get quite a bit colder. Over to Nick Cernkovich for a first look at the forecast.
Well, Chris, the last of these sort of above zero temperatures, at least for a couple of days here, as the temperatures plunge tonight and the wind's already shifting to a northwesterly direction. Today we hit 2 degrees in the GTA, but these temperatures dropping through the overnight period as the winds have shifted to a northwesterly direction. We're seeing that. Cloud cover starting to clear out by tomorrow morning. Still looking at a little bit in the way of flurries tonight, especially to the north of the GTA. Could pick up a centimeter or two of snow. By tomorrow, though, looking at mainly sunny skies, or at least a mix of sun and cloud for most parts, but winds continue to be strong through the afternoon tomorrow, and that's going to mean that wind chills will stay in the minus double digits even through the afternoon. Here's a look at your forecast for the next 24 hours. Minus 6 degrees through the overnight, some flurries, wind chills taking us down to minus 13 tomorrow. Mix of sun and cloud, minus 4, wind chills of minus 10. It does get warmer, though, heading into the weekend. We'll have your full forecast coming up in just a bit.
Sounds good. Thanks, Nick. In Willowdale, the city just won the fight over a long-disputed housing project. Neighbors had argued the 60-unit development that's on the same property as a seniors complex would impede green space for the residents. But the group Housing Now says their pushback seems more like NIMBYism disguised as advocacy. Ali Chiasson explains.
What could have been this? That's 59 units of supportive housing. Still looks like this. An empty plot of land 3 years after the project was announced.
It could have been housing people over a year ago.
But the affordable housing block at 175 Cummer Avenue in Willowdale has been held up at the Ontario Land Tribunal since neighborhood groups said they were concerned about who it would be housing, saying more of it should have been dedicated to seniors.
Our clients, the appellants at the hearing, said very clearly they would be 100% in favor of this development going ahead if it simply reflected the same parameters the City of Toronto advocated for, protection of seniors.
Willowdale Manor is already an affordable housing complex for seniors, which factored into the tribunal's decision to dismiss their appeal, saying the housing project represents good planning and is in the public interest.
We're very happy to see that this appeal process has finally come to a reasonable conclusion. It just took us way too long to get there.
Mark Richardson of Housing Now says this seems more like NIMBYism and property values disguising itself as advocacy for seniors.
This was never about the seniors housing on this side of the street. It was always about the $40 million worth of McMansions being built directly across the street.
Initially, I believe I voted against it.
Since the modular housing project was announced in early 2021, Councillor Stephen Holiday worried there wouldn't be enough public consultations since the city was preoccupied with the pandemic, but there has been since.
People may ultimately disagree with the changes that are made in that location, but at least I think people can be confident that a process was followed and that everybody was considered fairly.
With the housing affordability and homelessness crisis what it is today, Richardson says the province needs to heed its own advice.
Even the province's own Housing Affordability Task Force report said that affordable housing projects should not be appealable. So at the provincial level, we should just be removing the right for neighbours to appeal against affordable housing projects.
Now victorious, the city says they are wasting no time in dusting off those building supplies and selecting the non-profit organization to run the place eventually. Ali Chiasson, CBC.
Returning now with a difficult headline for many homeowners, especially those who own condos. The number of homes sold in Ontario is reaching historic lows, and that has experts predicting investors may start offloading properties in the coming months. As Mike Crawley explains, that could result in the value of many homes ticking lower through 2024.
The real estate market in this province right now is in a deep slump. Stats reveal that the number of homes actually selling is far below how many are listed.
That's not to say that supply is overly high in Ontario's market. It's just that sales levels are just so darn low.
We're talking about multi-decade, 20, 24-year lows in individual home sales, like the number of homes sold.
Industry forecasts predict this sluggishness to continue through the first part of the year, at least until there are significant cuts to mortgage rates.
The real question that we're going to be faced with in 2024 is how fast will interest rates decline, how quickly.
Another trend to watch for as the new year unfolds, whether sellers will get nervous and start asking for less.
It's a combination of these high prices and high interest rates that is keeping a lot of buyers out of the market right now.
The condo sector is in particularly bad shape, especially the pre-sale market dominated by investors.
Over the next 12 to 18 months, we'll probably see more investors unloading properties just because they can't afford to have so much debt at today's interest rates.
Those interest rates are also dampening the pace of new home construction because developers face higher financing costs. Throw in pricier building materials and a labor crunch, it's all dragging the Ford government further off track of its target for 1.5 million new homes by 2031.
Canada-wide and Ontario, of course, we're expecting housing starts to fall in 2024. So the pace of housing starts will kind of come off.
We need more housing supply, but supply's declining when we need it, and our population continues to boom.
Huge increase in population, ongoing increase in population, and reduced housing starts. It's a recipe for disaster.
Meanwhile, cities around the province have given the green light to housing projects totaling tens of thousands of new homes. Yet when you get a peek behind the billboards, construction is yet to begin. Mike Crawley, CBC News, Mississauga.
For the first time since failing to sign All-Star baseball player Shohei Ohtani today, the Blue Jays general manager took questions from the media. Ross Atkins tried to put a brave face on about the Jays getting dodged by Ohtani, who signed with L.A. for a record $700 million over 10 years.
We were obviously disappointed with the outcome, and it was a very difficult phone call to receive. One of the more difficult ones in my career. At the same time, incredible process and just group effort and collaboration that feels so good about not only that process, but what it meant to be in that position for this organization, for the city, for the country. There's no doubt in my mind he was exceptionally attracted to this country, this city, this team, and felt incredible about the process, but we moved on.
The Jays did re-sign outfielder Kevin Kiermaier with a one-year, $10.5 million contract. Kiermaier says he's happy to be back.
Forget them conversations because I'm going back to the Jays, a super talented team, guys that I love, an organization that has been great to me ever since dating back a year ago. I'm more than thrilled to be back. I'm so excited, and 2024 is going to be a huge year for us.
The Jays also signed shortstop Isaiah Kiner-Falefa to a two-year, $15 million contract. Atkins says he still believes in the core of the team and will look to make a couple more additions this offseason. Baseball may be the last thing on your mind, with wind chill values expected to hit -13 tomorrow. Back to you, Nick. What should people know?
Well, Chris, the big story here heading into tomorrow is going to be the cold weather. It'll be a bit of a reality check from what we've seen recently as temperatures plunge tonight down to -6 degrees with the wind chills in the minus double digits. And the only sort of silver lining in all of this is the sunshine will return. Now, heading into the weekend, we do get a warm up once again, but for the time being, we're looking at cold weather in place. Some flurries moving across the region, areas in the lee of Lake Huron and Georgian Bay picking up a little bit of accumulating snow. Not a lot here, but this is just affected by the lake here. As we move through tomorrow for the City of Toronto and the rest of the Golden Horseshoe, we're looking at a mix of sun and cloud to mainly sunny skies at times. That continues through Friday as well. A little bit of cloud cover starts to develop into Friday afternoon, but for the most part, we're looking at sunny skies on Friday too. Now, how much can we expect with this? Again, around the Golden Horseshoe, I don't really think we're going to see anything accumulating. Maybe a dusting of snow on the cars by tomorrow morning, but where we'll see some accumulation is north of the GTA. And again, this is in the lee of Lake Huron in Georgian Bay. Other than that, not much in terms of snowfall. Winds, however, are affecting our weather just a bit here as the winds gust out of the northwest to about 50 kilometers per hour. By tomorrow, they begin to come down to about 20 to 40 kilometers per hour, but that still keeps the wind chills in the minus double digits. -6 tonight with the wind chill. Feels like -13 when you wake up tomorrow morning, and doesn't get much better than that into the afternoon. High of -4 degrees, mix of sun and clouds. Same story for Friday, but the temperatures warm up above the 0 mark. And then we hover around the 0 mark heading through the weekend and into the beginning of next week. Chris.
All right, Nick, looking good. Ending the show tonight with some puppy love out in Oakville, where a local foundation is looking for families to foster pups set to become dog guides.
So we've got the foster puppy program where you take a very cute, adorable 7-week-old puppy and they go out into a foster home so that they can be house trained, learn some good house manners, learn some loose leash walking and get socialized.
The organization pairs canines with families for up to 16 months. They're looking for about 30 foster families to join the program, and the puppy breeds include retrievers, Labradors, and standard poodles. Some of the puppies got to meet their foster families today.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to help out with this program and raise this puppy. I'm just thrilled to have a dog again. We had a dog before and we lost him, so I'm thrilled to have another dog.
Oh, love that. All the vet food and training expenses will be covered by the program. And if the dog successfully completes the training, there's a ceremony where the new pup grad is matched with a dog guide. All right, what a great way to give back. And that's our show for you tonight. Thanks so much.